Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another live stream of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, June 25th, and we've got a lot to do, not a lot of news. The Steam Summer Sale and post E3 events seem to have pretty well collided. This Time Takers event is still going on, so we are yet again capable of getting 200 gold and 200 dust pretty easily, and then I just need to play a bunch of one-cost minions. The Tavern Brawl's not even coming out. There's not been any extra entries into the arena. The goal here, of course, is always when they do something like this to get you to waste all your money on arena, but even in this case, it had you wasted money on arena, you still would have had a considerable amount of dust for the next expansion, if that's really what the next expansion is all about. I'm gonna give it 2 more streams, like probably by Wednesday I'll have 5,000 gold on the Asian account. That's pretty crazy. We're also in a weird position because we'll play Murloc Paladin because I imagine those are at least a decent number of 1 mana characters. We're in a weird position because this entire weekend I really did want to play Black Mirror 2. I wanted to get into it. Unfortunately, the Steam Summer Sale happened and that clicker engine game happened. I really probably should, if my laptop would even boot up, which that's really a shame in its own thing, is that I had this gaming laptop and the battery's dead, and it's such a power suck as a gaming laptop, it won't even boot when plugged in. But I did basically ignore it for at least a year too, so it's probably at least a 4 or 5 year old laptop at this point. It's not super a huge loss, but had that booted up, that would have been the perfect example of instance where I could have logged it back into Steam and had the laptop playing the macro that I made to run the clicker game, this Aliens game. I am now at level 9, and because it is double the amount of experience to go up from one level to the next level, I might make it to level 10, but I seriously doubt I'm gonna make it to level 11. I don't think the game is designed to allow anybody to make it that high, frankly, in the time frame. The Steam Summer Sale is going on for longer than I would have thought. I made some interesting trades too. Found like a foil trading card or something that was just not available on the Steam Marketplace, because the Steam Marketplace is kind of draining, I guess would be the right term. More and more people are not into trading. Sure, CSGO still is absolutely doing great on the Steam Marketplace, but when you take into thought a lot of these smaller games that have flooded Steam and could do trading cards, there's just nobody that ever bought those games or had the trading cards. The Pajama Sam series is a great example of that. Like, each one of those trading cards to make a badge is going to cost you 15 cents plus each, and you need probably 8 to make one badge, so you're going to pay more than you paid for the game to go down this road. And of course, I always have to, when talking about trading cards, I have to remind and restate that trading cards are basically a scam for anybody who isn't a YouTuber who wants a bunch of friends. Getting trading cards increases your level, which lets you have friends, and increases the odds of you getting a booster pack. I don't get booster packs. I'm at level 76. I just don't. It just doesn't happen. Maybe I don't have the right games. out of the 900 games I have, that too doesn't make a lot of sense.
Not on my watch.
So yeah, there's no real reason to get insanely into them in the same way that I have gotten insanely into them. For comparison, I spent $220 on games, and I've spent $25 on buying trading cards and making boosters. And so it becomes this game on top of itself, just of microtransaction. It's insane. Yeah, I shouldn't be doing it. I have a problem, clearly. But I did sell one trading card for $3.50, which then I promptly reinvested into buying more things. There definitely
your magic shall not save.
Seems, I don't know if it really is true, but it seems like there's a potential way to make money on trading cards and booster packs, but I imagine you have to put so much time, effort, and thought into it. It's probably not worth it. Breaking things down to gems and crafting your own booster packs doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not profitable unless you can make a booster pack for a game that's extremely rare, and maybe at that point it might be worth it, but it's still very difficult to tell. Might as well take victories here while I'm doing this. Meanwhile, I looked over the code. I don't know how to really fix this. This CSS thing that they've done on the chat. So I've changed it again, and it still doesn't kind of work. There's something that they programmed differently for when a regular person chats versus a non-regular person versus the streamer chats.
Job's done.
Moving on from trading cards. So yeah, I started this long story saying, yeah, I meant to play Black Mirror, but then the game had to be running on my computer. I'm not sure if I really want to do that. The Saliens clicker game hasn't given me any games, and I've been on every single planet, and I've played pretty hard. So unless the giveaways don't happen until later, it feels like the odds of you actually getting a free game are pretty low, and probably not worth your time. Arguably, the same could be said for a lot of the sales on the Steam Summer Sale. Like, the sales aren't great, not like they used to be. Flash sales used to get you significant discounts on major AAA titles. Now it's more just a semblance of a sale. We've seen similar things like Black Friday sales at one point felt like they were things worth dealing with, but now it's kind of obvious that Black Friday deals are not something that you would ever really bother to deal with, because the sales aren't that good. The danger and frustration of shopping during Black Friday is really high. That being said, Steam games on a weekly sale and a daily sale sometimes are good, but those aren't that great either, so prices in general have just gone The discovery queue, which you're supposed to go through every day, although it seems to reset in kind of a more frequently than every day pattern. It seems to reset at a different time zone than mine. Looking at the discovery queue, 3 of those, 30 games basically, gives you 3 trading cards during the summer sale. Fair enough, that's why I need to keep a little bit of cash on hand, because I imagine, even though my summer sale badge is already at level 11 or 12 now, I imagine I'll try and fill it out later. But there's even an argument, I suppose, that maybe you shouldn't spend any of your training cards to make the badge, and instead what you should do is turn the Steam Summer Sale trading cards, which are probably worth 80 or 100 I want to say dust, but 80 or 100 gems. If you turned all the Summer Sale trading cards into gems, use the gems to make booster packs for other extremely rare games, and sold those, they might be more valuable, because right now all the trading cards, even though they are so brand new and so prevalent, that they're selling for 5 cents. The thing about selling anything on the Steam market also is that with every transaction, a cut is going to Steam and a cut is going to the manufacturers of the game, so they're making money on top of money on top of money. It's ridiculous. What else? Yep. So because I wasn't playing games, I was actually trying to teach myself some Python and program something in Python. As a programmer who was traditionally trained in C++ before that BASIC, and also took HTML, I would say Python is probably for me, probably because I'm old and stuck in my ways, a lot of it is that. But Python seems like it is one of the most frustrating languages to learn, because it is not like HTML in the sense that it's so far away from C++ or BASIC that you don't have to deal with that. JavaScript arguably is a little bit like C++, and so there's some overlap there, but the overlaps, I don't recall it being so bad that I hated it.
For justice.
But Python is just strange, because it changes some very basic syntax things and makes your code look somewhat similar to C++, but not similar enough that you could just write the code mostly in C++ and then move on. Python seems to have a lot of built-in functions that you can import pretty easily, whereas when I was being educated in C++ programming, we really didn't use mini header files, as they were called in C++, so you couldn't ever really do anything super cool. You were making everything from scratch, which is arguably one way to teach programming. I know a lot of those kids' programming languages dumb down everything to the point where you're just dragging and dropping blocks. I don't see how that really is getting people into the mindset of, no, you've really got to create this from the word go.
Hand is too full.
Or at least understand how it works before you go and use somebody else's code. But one of the issues with Python is that I kept pulling a build date from kernel, and I'm actually programming the Python on my Android phone. So Samsung phone, Samsung is in Korea. The build date is in the Korean Standard Time, or Korean Daytime, whatever, KDT, as the time zone. The Python port of, I believe, Python 3, maybe 3.6. I'm hoping that's what I'm trying to program to. I guess we can just move over to something different. So it can pull the Android build time. Android is a version of Linux. There's a command you can run on Linux console to get the kernel build date. So it pulls that, but then the functions, the imported code that I'm using, which is called datetime, to handle that information, can't handle the fact that it's Korean Standard Time. I have no reason why. And there should be another function called PYTZ for Python time zone that you could import to try and work with that and correct it. That import header file wasn't installed by default. And so installing extra Python code on the Android operating system doesn't particularly work. I may be able, I could do it, but I don't really want to go down that route. I'm just programming it on my cell phone. I'm not programming it to actually run on the cell phone. So I'm having to provide workarounds and fixes for bugs. But yeah, and I spent half of yesterday banging my head against this code going, why is this not working? This should work. Everything I'm seeing is telling me this should work. The code is supposed to run on a Raspberry Pi Zero W, which has pins on it that you can wire to devices. And I also spent half a day programming how you would control a 7-segment display if you had a 7-segment display, basically a clock. It's a clock program. I don't need to dance around that. I'm building a better mousetrap in the sense that I'm building a better clock. But to control 4 7-segment displays plus the 2 dots in the middle, that's 30 wires you would need. There aren't 30 pins on a Raspberry Pi Zero W, and that's probably fine because I don't think any LCD screen that you actually interact with is actually going to be controlled directly by each wire. So I spent a lot of time making code that I very possibly will never use, which is not unheard of in programming, and it was a fun enough way to do things. But yeah, this whole weekend I've spent programming, doing a little bit of Lego, did the Lego Ideas Ship in the Bottle. It's a pretty nice looking build, but it has some major flaws. 280 of the 980, roughly guessing the numbers there, 280 of the roughly 980 pieces are just single 1-stud clear pieces to simulate water in the ship in the bottom. So you just dump those 2 little baggies of 1-by-1 stud, slight transclear bluish pieces into the bottle halfway through building the bottle, which brings you down to a pretty small amount of Lego pieces for something that you'd kind of expect to be more of a Lego expert type game, type design. The other problem, at least in my instance, was there literally was not a single
Your magic
clear piece, like extra. So there was some 1x1 clear pieces that should have been extra in the build, and arguably there should have been some 2x1 clear transparent pieces, that because you make the bottle out of clear Lego pieces, and arguably a lot of the pieces to make that bottle could have just been a custom piece. Like the entire bottle itself could have been a custom piece or two, and they kind of remarkably didn't go in that direction. But that does mean you're doing a rather detailed, rather complicated bottom of the bottle in all clear pieces, and to have no extra pieces is a little crazy. I made several mistakes, so I was probably not awake enough to do the build at that time. The ship that you build is the first thing you build for the ship in the bottle, and it barely fits in the bottle. I had to take 2 different efforts to get the ship's masts to fit under the bottle, because there is practically no clearance at all, which could have been solved, I think, pretty easily with a slight design change to the ship. But instead, what you do, you just have to make sure every single piece is pressed down as far as it will go and as tight as it will go. The way the sails are attached on the masts is not good, and it causes them to come off the point where they're connected and kind of loosely hang, which means there's a very high chance that if you jostled the bottle once it's done, your ship is not going to look that good. And since there are so few pieces building the ship in general, you're going to have to be super obsessive about getting details looking good. If the cannon if the cannons don't line up, if they're crooked, if the sails aren't in the way you want them to look, it is going to drastically affect the way it looks. There's a neck of the bottle that looks pretty good, and then there's a base that holds the bottle that's pretty good, although most of the base is just brown pieces on top of brown pieces on top of brown pieces. It does have 2 very nice custom globes, but at best I would say the ship in the bottle is a slightly above average build, and I think if they were to make a version 2.0, which I think eventually that's what they're going to have to do, Lego will, I think they'll make version 2.0s of a lot of their designs. If it was not a Lego's Ideas build, and it was something that Lego was really behind and they had their master builders build it, it would have looked a lot better.
To my side.
It does look to scale, and I think that's part of the problem. If they had scaled it just a little bit bigger, you could have done more detail to it. But it's very nice, and it will sit on the shelf just fine. It's just definitely not something you would want to play with or let kids play with. I'm also at this point almost done with Lego, not because I want to be done with Lego, but because there's 2 or 3 creator expert sets I have not purchased, and they're all very old. And I'm getting more and more into the Lego City and the Lego Creators 3-in-1, but there really aren't that many of those either. So at a certain level, I'm literally gonna run out of Lego sets that are pre-made, and I'm gonna buy like 3 of the 3-in-1s and take apart old builds. At a certain point also, I guess I'd run out of space, but that's not really a factor right now. Like I could get away with ignoring that as an issue for quite a while. But yeah, I'm talking about Lego because there's so little news. There is some news, and well, we need to start covering it. Let's see. Why is this over here? One of the issues certainly is what's on Steam has not been doing the greatest of jobs of saying a lot of new games that came out. So I'm not sure if a lot of games haven't come out, or what's on Steam is messed up, or if I just messed up the delicate balance of my Twitter feed, and now I'm just not seeing what's on Steam post. It does seem like that's kind of the way my feed goes, is that like one week I will see everything from one person, and then the next week I won't see anything. And I look to see if there's some kind of setting, but I don't see anything that seems to imply I should be able to change it or that I'm actually getting different outfits or outcomes. So let's go through the news. PC Gamer has an article. Hearthstone Pro sets ridiculous new ladder win streak record. Dog was finally deleted in Wild by Barnes. Let's see. This first sentence says a good win rate in Hearthstone is anything above 60% or so. You're getting into the top legend range when you hit 5%. A sustained win rate above around 70% is world championship territory. So David Dog Cario, a Hearthstone pro who plays for Team Liquid, racked up 50 wins in a row, is frankly absurd. So 50 wins in a row in Arena, I could totally see if you just play long enough and if you're good, that happening. There's kind of nothing else to say there. And I think, again, this is going to be a day where we're going to get maybe just 2 recordings. So let's just move over to the RPN account and keep on keeping on. Because the news is nothing right now. There's a game called Lonia Sage, Lonia Sage 2. They say it's a roguelike game that explores various items and skills in a dungeon. It looks to me like it's got low pixel graphics, Terraria type, looking like a Terraria clone, so nothing interesting me on that. Terraria really did kill any idea in my head of playing. Let's trade this one. Oh, these are all just 60s. That kind of sucks, but we'll get those too. We just need to play a bunch of 1-cost minions again. Yeah, at some point in the past couple decades, I would have been cool and interested in playing something that was pixel graphics, that was kind of a roguelike explorer, getting items and playing. But even having not played Terraria myself at all, I just saw it as a inferior Minecraft, and it just doesn't look like an interesting game to play with. I think pixel graphics in general now are just not interesting to me. Like, I've lost 100% of a desire to play a game that isn't pretty. And so, yeah, let's move. So I really don't have anything else to say about that. It's like, I want pretty looking games. What can I say? Gematsu has an article, Yokai Watch 4 teaser trailer. I want to watch this trailer. Hopefully the audio doesn't play. We'll see what this looks like. No guarantee that Yokai Watch is coming to the West, because I don't think it's super succeeded. So yeah, there's definitely some weirdness here. I'm seeing a lot of doors in this trailer. It seems like doors and keys are gonna play a major role. Magical doors that apparently the kids travel through. I didn't know that was part of the yokai storyline, but maybe it's changed. Yeah, but that teaser trailer didn't really show anything. Which I guess that is what a teaser trailer is. Moving on. Next game on Steam is called Capsella, The Light of Lucerne. It's a top-down Diablo-esque looking game. It says early access action RPG and adventure isometric. I don't think it actually is sticking 100% to isometric, so maybe it's partially isometric, maybe it's not. It seems like the camera swings around. Let's see. It looks pretty good, but it's hard to justify getting this instead of Diablo. It's 10% off for $13.49. It's an early access. It looks like it has 4 players, so there's some ideas here and some nice looking things. It is, however, the first game from this developer, and I'm more and more less likely to give new developers even the time of day. Which I probably should. The Steam Discovery queue, for instance, is very interesting in how it's telling me the same small indie games that other people have played a little bit over the brand new games that literally nobody has played, or 1 or 2 people have played. So while I have said many times Discovery 2.0 works, it kind of fails to show or highlight new games in the Discovery queue, the one place where I'd be alright with seeing some weird looking total garbage low effort games or troll games. I would say probably the Discovery 2.0 works too well, and something like Capsella, The Lights of Lucerne, is one of these games that is probably just going to get never found or never played. Here's a first review. Is not recommended. The game currently only has about 15 minutes of gameplay. Is the absolute bare bones of games. I will be getting a refund. Well, it looked pretty, at least. And that's the same game we just talked about before. Let's see.
For justice.
Let's hit this. Your Game has an article that says it looks like hackers are using balloons to put porn in Super Mario Odyssey. Hackers are reportedly inserting porn into Super Mario Odyssey via balloons. I don't understand what the balloons are. They spotted Redditors on our Nintendo Switch said that they spotted 2 pornographic images while playing Super Mario Odyssey. The images were on in-game balloons which will normally use to display players' avatars. It looks like the issue is limited to Super Mario Odyssey's Luigi Balloon World, an online-only minigame that involves hunting balloons other players have hidden. The balloons display the online avatar of the player who hides them under normal circumstances. Avatars are Nintendo characters or Mii's. So there's probably, if I was to guess, the attack vector would be to hack the way you upload Mii's or get Mii's uploaded as a man in the middle of attack, because I don't even think there is a way to upload a Mii image even online. So it's either a man in the middle attack where you start the process of uploading a Mii, then you change the data stream in between Nintendo server and your Switch or Wii U or Wii or whatever, and upload a different picture. Let's see. Which consistently this has been the problem
My shield for
with this has been a problem with Nintendo stuff in general, is that Nintendo wants to be family friendly, and as soon as you put anything online, let's see, according to the article, that according to Polygon, this is a Eurogame article that's just quoting Polygon at this point, Switch hackers who recently got their hands on Nintendo Switch developer software called Dev Menu are to blame. The hackers are using Dev Menu to create and upload custom avatar images, and inevitably some are using it to create and upload pornographic images. Now, it is, I suppose, slightly important to point out that these images are tiny little avatars, squares of maybe 400 by 400 pixels, but I imagine you could get pretty creative with that. It's like, is this really an article that people need to be afraid of, though, or is this just an incident? Like, it's something that should be reported, certainly, and it was reported by Eurogamer, and I'm not really going to complain that they did report on it. I'm just going to throw out there that this is also one of those articles that would pretty easily could have been overhyped and reported over and over again as if it's this giant issue that it really isn't. Let's see, PC Gamer has an article, Discord adds colorblind mode. That was from 5 days ago, so what happened on Friday that I didn't report on that? It must have happened right after that. PC Gamers, apparently we've got a theme going on today. PC Gamers are, let's see, PC Gamer has an article, meet the modders determined to add nudity to the least likely of places, least likely games. I'm just gonna drag this out, although there really is no reason to. I should just win. From Hearthstone to Stellaris, for some, the creative commitment to boobs is everything. In everything knows no bounds. So this is one of these articles that is a combination of oops, Hearthstone needs to be restarted. It's one of these articles that's a combination of a couple of articles. It was only 3 or 4 weeks ago that the Hearthstone mod to change the images and add nudity to the cards, mostly toplessness, It seems like for these examples. He's that was covered, and we kind of just shop closed. So I wonder if the new expansion is coming out just at surprise right now. Let's see. This article goes on. I really just want to get a list of the games that
I will fight with honor.
Of what they're called. Like there's the Skyrim mod, Big Naturals Body Slide Precinct, and Whiterun Brothel Revamped. That's mentioned. There's the Hearthstone mod called Hearthstone, which puts in nudity into the Hearthstone cards. There's also Monster Hunt Editions, which does the same thing for single player content like the Witch Run expansion, the boards, and simply projects pervy images across the board.
Move quickly.
The board itself, I don't think I saw that one.
The light dims, but we fight.
Let's keep on playing. Apparently there's an entire Reddit called Lewd Games, LEWDGAMES, one on Reddit subreddit, so that'd be r/Lewd Games, which probably would take up too much of my time if I visit that heavily, and be kind of pointly.
An incredible discovery.
It'd be kind of pointless because I couldn't cover half that content on YouTube anyways. One of these days we'll have a YouTube replacement that allows me to cover lewd games in all their glory.
Repent.
And then I will definitely consider dedicating at least one time slot to it. Probably not my entire channel. I won't go crazy with it. Got someone in the chat saying, "Hi, how's your day going?" Oh, it's going just fine. Dealing with this summer sale and the clicker game. Not a lot of news today, oddly. Let's see. Skyrim, Fallout, The Witcher all probably have mods, although it's kind of redundant almost to add like nudity or sex scenario mods into the Witcher, just because I don't. The game is halfway there anyways. There's a Shadowverse mod called the Uncensored Shadowverse mod. Let's see. Let's see. Looks like there's an API for Starbound that has a called Sexbound. It's not particularly a mod for Starbound itself, I think, as much as a let's see, that first, I guess. It seems to be something you use Starbound to make your own scenarios. There's a lesbian-oriented rework of Crusader Kings. Let's see. A lot of these too are like, you'd really have to love the game and play the game. I don't feel like people who played Skyrim, first thing they did was install nude mods, or people who played Fallout. I don't think it's the first thing they do. I think they fall in love with the game and play it for the first time through, and then it which then, after they get a little bored with it, then they start to see how they can add things and change things. Apparently there's a mod called Sexual Gameplay for the game, what is this one? Stellaris? Yeah, Stellaris.
I wonder.
I imagine there's tons more mods here. And that's all that gets mentioned as far as this PC Gamer article. So, at the very least, I'm often very critical of PC Gamer for the way they kind of repost and double post articles and just use the same content over and over again in an effort to get as many views on their ads as possible. This article at least seems like it did some research. Like it is starting from a combination of a previous article about the Hearthstone sex mod, but it's growing. Ah, interesting. Well, that's certainly. I'm looking right now at the other Hearthstone mod, or an image of one of the Hearthstone sex mods, and it is just literally changing the board right here into a pornographic image with pornographic images on the sides here and here on the blue part. That certainly would be funny to watch somebody stream that on Twitch before they got banned or something like that. It would catch more people's attention, certainly.
For justice.
Particularly in a game like Hearthstone, where you're often just playing the same cards over and over again. It can get really boring. Of course, it would also lead to quite a bit of distraction. Just clicking through. So here we are. Mark off all these new things, and then let's move over to the Americas account, and we will stay on the Americas account and just probably play a bunch of ranked as I'm trying to cover the news. And frankly, the news is,
where have your journeys taken?
Like, I'm not gonna scroll through my Twitter feed at the end of the stream. I think we'll just, once I cover the news, we'll just cover the news. We'll trade out the spells one. So draw 25 cards, draw 15 cards, take 15 turns. There's literally nothing I have to do here. So Spiteful Priest is the best deck, theoretically, according to hsreplay.net, that I can play. Rank play. Let's see if we can get up here. Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of the links from these sex mods, and half these games don't even put pictures as their main thing. So the pictures are actually rather small things. that barely are even an addition to the game in the first place. Moving on though, guess I'm trying to win here, so. I'm just gonna hold on to all three of these. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Firmament Wars. Firmament is a old word for Earth, and it basically looks like it's a Risk ripoff. As a Risk ripoff, it would be halfway decent if it didn't look so monotone in its color palette. There's just like solid red countries and solid blue countries, so if the blue player has the country, that's it. Seems like they may have changed this so it's a constantly playing game instead of taking turns like you would in Risk. So I don't think it's just the exact same thing as Risk. It says it's early access and $4.99, and I don't think so. Like I get what they're trying to do here, but this game needs, I think, more polish and more work. And it's the first game from this developer, and they're already asking for $5, which is a pretty high price. Next game we have is a game called Lovecraft's Untold Stories. Early access indie action RPG game. From the name, it sounds slightly interesting, but it's got pixel graphics, which scares me off most games to begin with. It seems like it's a twin top-down shooter where you're shooting demons in darkly lit rooms, which can be very frustrating. I wonder. RPG elements and such. I want to try to be generous here. I don't want to just immediately dismiss this because of its pixel art graphics. It's mostly popular already, and it came out June 23rd. So apparently Lovecraft does sell. It's early access for $12.99. And I think I will be just generous and wishlist this game. Keep an eye on it. See if people want to talk about it later. It is the first game from this developer. But yeah, I'm willing to come back and reevaluate the game later. Next game, we already talked about that game. We have one called a game on Steam called Science. The World is in Your Hands, and I'm not sure if I'm looking at a actual game or if I'm just looking at. Oops, I should have attacked first. Or if I'm just looking at like a kind of half asset flip experience. It seems like it's a half asset flip experience. Is this VR? Yes, it is. It's a VR experience for $9.99, and it's early access, and that certainly explains a lot of why the graphics don't look good. First game from this developer, and we just talked about that game.
I wonder.
Right. At the end, and at the end, taunt.
Tortola, preserve us! You are the shadow's puppet!
Beware the shadow!
So there's several people that I followed on Twitter I need to mute. One is Trilobite Games, the people who made the 7th Guest, but right now I'm mostly just promoting the 7th Guest board game. I think that was in particular one of the people that I started to follow, and it messed up the delicate balance that is my Twitter feed as far as making sure that I actually see everything. from what's on Steam. I'm also going to meet the director of events at Penny Arcade because his posts are not particularly about Penny Arcade, so like I probably followed him thinking his posts would be directly built around Penny Arcade Expo, but it's not really happening. And more individual game companies like Ludosity, creators of It'll Do, Card City Nights, Princess Remedy, don't really have any reason for. I don't have a reason to follow individual developers or publishers. So I'm muting Ludosity. So that's three major posters on my Twitter feed gone. So hopefully, theoretically, that
awaken my children
fixes things. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article, Black Mesa's Zen chapters in the final polishing stage. Work is nearly completed on the long-awaited 5 chapters. This is the Half-Life remake Black Mesa Zen chapters. Like, there seems to be a lot of these. It says at the bottom of this article, Zen doesn't have a release date. All 5 chapters can be completed in an hour. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of projects to remake and continuously remake the
Out of my jungle!
the Half-Life, as if Half-Life is going to solve or come back into popularity at such an extreme level.
Quickly.
But I guess it's a beloved classic, and so that's just going to keep on happening. Gamma Sutra has an article, how classic games make use of smart use of random number generators. Gamma Sutra does the article that are more industry insider articles, so it makes a decent amount of sense that they'd write an article here. Here's a quote: "You can access true randomness at quantum scales, but this is generally out of reach for conventional electronics." Let's see. Final Fantasy 1 apparently read sequentially from a list of pre-generated numbers, so either at the beginning of the game it randomized all the numbers and seeded them, or instead just look at that. That's not supposed to make noise. My phone just updated to Oreo, and in the process things are a little bit weird. Let's see. On the Commodore 64, the output of a noise oscillator on the sound chip was often used for randomness. Randomness is a big issue, or entropy as it's also called, in programming, trying to get true randomness. Video games, not so much needing it as much as like crypto needs it, but what in the world happened there? Well, I think even to get a solid 2 hours of the stream, I didn't say too much today. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of news. I think it's important, since you just heard the alarm clock go off for an hour, to just break this up right here and right now. We're already on the America's account. I literally just need to play like one more game and I will get all of these done. And there's nothing in this game, and it's probably a major flaw. Apparently I have a whole thing of cards I can disenchant also. But they weren't marked as new, so that was weird. There's no way to fiddle with things. Like, in most games, in an RPG, you'd be able to go into your inventory and play menu hero. Borderlands 2 is horrible about this. In fact, that's a great example. It's like, you can just find a safe spot where nobody's shooting you in Borderlands 2, and then fiddle with your inventory for a good 10, 15, 20 minutes. And that often is frustrating and not something you want to do, but it's an option there. It's something different to do. Hearthstone, on the other hand, has got nothing. Nothing whatsoever. The truth of it is that if you're not playing a card game, you're not doing anything. You're not going to go into your collection and dust a bunch of cards and use that dust to craft new cards. If you could get equivalent amounts of dust for doing that, maybe you would work. That would work. If they took away the desire to rip people off and make them spend ever more amounts of money, and let you turn a legendary for 1600 dust into a 1600 dust, and then craft a different legendary for 1600 dust, that would be great. People would go into their collection all the time and move things around. But that's just not what they do. So you either play ranked or solo casual in single player, or you go to the solo adventures and you do a bunch of solo adventures, which I suppose arguably I could go try and get the card back for the solo adventures in the European and Asian accounts. Not really worth it, frankly, but whatever. It'd be something to do. But honestly, it'd be better just to play ranked. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps out. When you subscribe, click the notification bell. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below, including friending me on Steam. It is not too late, and let me once again say that my only monetization policy right now on this channel is not ads. It is asking people to friend me on Steam and gift me games. At this point, the Steam Summer Sale is still going on. It'd be really easy for you to friend me, and purchasing games, I believe, would get you, even if you gift games, would get you more trading cards, which might knock you over. It's every $10 you spend, increment of $10 you spend gets you another trading card. If you don't want to pick a specific game that's on my wish list or that you would like me to see, you can also gift cards. That would work very well. Now is the time to do this. Once the Steam Summer Sale ends, then I stop pushing this until the next sale. So there's really only at most 4 times a year that I'm even trying to get people to donate to my channel. Maybe in the future things will change. Almost certainly we'll have to go to something like a Patreon model at some point in the future, but right now that's all I'm asking. And remember, there's 99-cent games out there. There's a bunch of hidden object games you could gift. You can search my wish list and search by price, and you can find things for at least 70 cents, if not 49 cents. That's gonna be it though, so thank you for watching. Have a good evening.